Perform24 family, happy Halloween. Today is Sunday, October 31st, and just the way the Squatober program played out this year, we ended up testing out on Friday on the 29th. So we are going to be going over in this video how I ended up testing out. If you weren't following the Squatober training program, or if you don't know what that is, it's an Instagram-based training program. It was done this year on the Pen and Paper Strength app Instagram page, and we squatted every single day for the month. So it ended up being 21 days of training, 21 days of squatting, and we ended up accumulating over 365 reps. I think it was like 367 or 68 or something like that, but we squatted a ton for the month of October. We had a pre-test, then we went through a calculated program, and then on Friday, we tested out our max. So I'm going to be going over how I did, how those results played out, and give you a little bit of recap of the program itself. If we have not met yet, my name is Levi. My real job is running a gym here in South Tampa. I started a gym called Perform24 in 2014. And then I also make YouTube videos in my garage with my internet friends. So we cover a lot of different topics here. Sometimes I'm talking about the gym and my clients and the training that I do with other people. Sometimes I'm talking about my own training, and then sometimes I'm talking about gear or equipment that I'm using or discovered. But today's video is all about the Squatober max test that I did on Friday. So let's get right into the meat and potatoes here. Let's not waste anybody's time. I started Squatober this year using 355 pounds as my training max. Earlier this year, I did hit 365 pounds on my back squat. I did that in March, okay? I hit 355 in September, and it was a very, very clean rep. I thought I did have a little bit more in the tank, but I decided to use 355 as my training max. So on Friday, I ended up hitting 415 pounds, which is absolutely insane. Which that means I put 50 pounds on my all-time PR, and then I put 60 pounds on the Squatober program. So I started at 355 as my training max, ended at 415. That's 60 pounds. That is absolutely insane. So when you go through a max out day, and this is true for the Squatober program, but then also like any true max effort day, you kind of follow like a sequence, okay? So I was following percentages and like jumps, like kind of calculated jumps up. And what I ended up doing on that test day on Friday is I set 405 as my 100% max. So going into this year, going into Squatober, I wanted to hit 405. That was my goal, okay? Like I said, I tested in at 355. I thought I had more in the tank. I could probably hit 365, maybe 370, but I went in using 355 as my training max. Did 2 weeks of training there, and then, like I said, bumped it up to 375, and then did the following 2 weeks, or the final 2 weeks of the program, with 375 as my training max. So on Friday, I went in with 405 as my 100%. Okay, that's what I wanted to hit. And so I used my calculated buildups with 405 in mind. So I ended up hitting, I think, 360. 360 was very clean. And then I went in and I hit 385, which that was an all-time PR for me, and that went up very smooth. And then I went for 405, okay? I hit 405, and I was with people, and that was a very clean rep. And they told me that I had more in the tank. And I even told them, like, I don't care. 405 was my goal. I hit that. I feel very accomplished. And adding any more to that isn't going to do anything for me emotionally. But I did kind of feel like I had a little bit more in the tank, so I threw an extra 10 on there, and then hit 415. So, 415 is my calculated max. That's the most I've ever done. I didn't push it beyond that, so I didn't fail at a rep or anything like that. I didn't go to true failure, but I hit 415. I hit it clean, and that's a check. But for me personally, honestly, hitting 405 just means as much to me as hitting 415. I'll be totally honest. So mentally, I don't feel any difference between the two. I accomplished the goal, and I put a ton of weight onto my max back squat in the last month. So let's talk about Jessica really quick, because Jessica also had a massive lifetime PR. So she ended up hitting 225 pounds, which, like I said, that's the most she's ever done ever. And then again, it was a very clean rep. We used 190 as her training max to start. And then we bumped hers up pretty quick because we did estimate hers, and it was a little undershot. So after the first week, we did move hers up, and then after the second week, we moved hers up again. And I think she used 215 as her final training max for the last 2 weeks. So we ended up smashing her PR too, which for both of us to get a new PR is awesome. So as I kind of think about this a little bit, I was in a prime position to make a massive jump in my back squat. So I've been training the back squat pretty consistently for the last year, but I haven't really pushed hard and emphasized the strength side. But the movement has been feeling very good. And this year was the first year that I've been using a belt. So I used a lot of the Squatober programming to practice using the belt, or at least fine tune it. I've been using it now for 2 or 3 months. So I've got a pretty good amount of experience with it, but it was just a perfect time where like my body was feeling good. And this was on my radar. So I had planned to do Squatober now for 6 or 7 months. And so I knew that this was going to be a big push. And so I set myself up for a lot of success. I am very happy that that success paid off the way that it did, and that it played out the way that it did. But that's also a pretty significant gain in a short amount of time. So I think it was the combination of me being ready for it, me being prepared for it, and me having it on my calendar now for months, and then also kind of maximizing the use of the belt. And also, this is an important thing, and I talked to Jess about this before, she was getting ready to do her 1RM. Maxing is a skill, guys, so going for a max effort test is a skill. And if you haven't done that before, it's brand new and it's intimidating, and it's kind of tough going through that for the first time. So personally, I knew what the max out day was going to look like and feel like. My body was ready for it. My squat pattern has been feeling good. And then, I was able to use the belt and really maximize that, which for my movement, I think holding or using a belt really makes a huge difference. So the way that I was kind of explaining this to another one of my clients is that the belt kind of helps me connect my legs and my glutes to the bar, guys. So I feel very confident in my legs. And so adding that belt just kind of gives me a little bit more confidence and a little bit more security. So, yeah, a whole bunch of factors lined up for me to have a huge jump like I did. But I think it was the result of a lot of factors. All right, if you guys participated in Squatober this year, please let me know how it went for you. I had about half a dozen people in my direct ecosystem participating the whole month, and every single one of them did bump their maxes up. So it's a win across the board. If you are on the fence about maybe participating next year, I highly recommend it. You're going to learn something for sure. You're going to be challenged physically. You're going to be challenged mentally. I say send it. Full send, full immersion. Just dive into the deep end. Put it on your calendar now so that you're ready for it next October. But it's an awesome time. Obviously, having a bunch of people doing it with you is most of the fun. It's so much fun when you know that there's a ton of people also participating. So the community is always the X factor with Squatober. All right, that's going to wrap up today's video. I am going to have a separate video coming out in the next week or so talking about the last year for me on my back squat. So last Squatober, I started with a tested 300-pound back squat. Okay, so I went from 300 to 415. That's 115 pounds for you math whizzes, but I put 115 pounds on my back squat in the last calendar year, which is pretty absurd. And I'm 31, so it's not like I'm just a young buck that's like crushing weights, right? So I've had to earn that 115 pounds. But I'm going to make a video on what I've done in the last calendar year that kind of all culminated in that jump because I think it's relevant. And I think that I've done some things that, if you want to add a lot of weight to your back squat as a 30-year-old semi-athlete like me, that maybe you'll take a few things from. So I'm going to make that a separate video though, just talking about what I've done the whole calendar year. that's going to wrap up today's video. Squatober was a massive success. I'm very, very happy with the results. And I'm also looking forward to what I've got coming up over the next couple months to finish out 2021. But as always, train hard, live full, and I will see you in the next video.